social and religious awakening in India. The impact of Western culture and realization of defeat by a foreign power gave birth to a new awakening. It was evident that a vast country like India had been colonized by a handful of foreigners because of certain deep rooted weaknesses of Indian society. Certain visionaries of India began to analyze the weaknesses of the society and thought of ways of eradicating those weaknesses. One major issue taken up by the social reformers was the exploitation of and discrimination against the Indian women. Many women were forced to commit sati. Women were also victims of polygamy, as men could have more than one wife. The reformers took up the challenge of fighting for the rights and dignity to women. Position of women in Indian society. During the 19th century, the Indian society faced many social evils such as sati pratha, female infanticide, and child marriage. The condition of widows was very miserable. They were not allowed to remarry. They were not given equal status in the male-dominated society. At this time, there emerged many social reformers and thinkers who did their best to remove such social evils prevailing in the society. These thinkers, philosophers, and reformers laid stress on the need to shed backwardness. Some educated Indians also came forward to lead the social reform movements. Crusade against sati. Since ancient time, sati pratha was prevalent in the society. It was an illegal practice of burning the wife on her husband's pyre. Old Hindu scripture, Agni Puran, also mentions about this practice, which was known as Sahagamana at the time, but was prevailing only among certain sections of the society. Only Rajput women were forced to embrace sati. The practice of sati was more acute in Bengal, where in 1828 more than 450 incidents of sati were recorded. The British government in India did not interfere in this matter, considering it as the religious matter of the Indians. The great Indian social reformer Raja Ram Mohan Roy tried to raise discontent and concern through his writings against this inhuman practice, said it had no sanction in the ancient texts. He visited the burning ghats at Calcutta, now Kolkata, to persuade the relatives of widows to give up their plan of compelling the widows to commit sati. He organized groups of like-minded people who kept a strict watch to prevent any attempt to force the widows to commit sati. Many British officials also found the system of sati repulsive, and they were willing to listen to Ram Mohan Roy. Finally, in 1829, Governor General William Bentinck passed a law banning the dreadful custom of sati. He founded a reform association called Brahmo Samaj in 1830 and tried to reform Indian society by adopting the rational and scientific approach of the West and the principle of human dignity and social equality of all men and women. Raja Ram Mohan Roy was one of the pioneers of modern Western education who brought modern ideas in the country. He understood that only by modern Western education, Indians would be able to get freedom and equality. Position of widows and widow remarriage. The problem of widows was observed as a serious problem in Indian society. Due to polygamy and child marriage, aged men married young girls. As a result, many young women became widows at a young age. They were not allowed to remarry after the death of their husbands. There were many restrictions imposed on them, like they were allowed to eat only once in a day. Efforts to improve the condition of the widows led to the implementation of Widow Remarriage Act. Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar was a great Sanskrit scholar and a humanist with immense sympathy for the poor, the unfortunate, and the oppressed. He is remembered by his countrymen for his long struggle in favor of widow remarriage. He strongly condemned the misery and oppression of the Hindu widows, and after studying the ancient texts, boldly suggested that widows could remarry. Gradually, the movement in favor of widow remarriage spread to other parts of the country. Finally, in 1856, the British government passed the Widow Remarriage Act. Later on, in 1874, Right to Property Act was enacted.
This act gave the widow a right in her husband's property, but she was not allowed to dispose of such property.
Child marriage. This social evil also prevailed in Indian society since long. It was practiced as a safety measure because in ancient times, around 8th century AD onwards, India was being invaded by foreign invaders. The invaders took away the young girls as spoils of war. So, boys and girls were married early to protect young girls from such exploitation. Many social reformers like Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, and Dayanand Saraswati advocated the abolishing of the child marriage. Due to the efforts of social reformers, Age of Consent Act was enacted in 1891. According to this act, till the age of 12 years, a girl should not be forced to have physical relations with her husband. Another act, known as Sharada Act 1929, fixed 14 years for females and 16 years for males to marry. Female infanticide. Practice of killing a girl child is known as female infanticide, while the illegal practice of killing the fetus of an unborn baby girl is termed as female feticide. The British colonial government in India debated this topic and listed those communities, tribals who practiced it. Female Infanticide Act, enacted in 1870, gave the provincial government immense powers to prevent killing of babies and also punish those who committed this crime. The first step towards women's education. Many reformers felt that education for girls was necessary in order to improve the condition of women. When schools were first opened in the mid-19th century, many people opposed them because they believed that girls should not be exposed to the outside world. Vidyasagar was a pioneer in organizing women's education in Bengal. He organized 35 girls' schools in Bengal, many of which he ran at his own expense. As secretary to the Bethune School, he was one of the pioneers of higher education for women. Dadabhai Naoroji laid the foundation for female education in Bombay. He was a pioneer in establishing the Student Literary and Scientific Social Society in Bombay, which took the lead in promoting female education. He went from door to door, urging the parents to send the girls to schools for education. He volunteered to teach without taking money when the first girls' school was opened by the society in Bombay. Other reformers in Maharashtra like Jyoti Rao Phule started a girls' school at Pune, and soon many other schools came up in the region. By late 19th century, schools for girls were set up by Arya Samaj in Punjab. In Muslim households in North India, some women learned to read the Quran in Arabic. Some reformers even reinterpreted the verses of Quran and tried to promote women education. Urdu novels too encouraged women to read about religion and how to manage their households so that they could become aware of their duties and responsibilities. Keshav Chandra Sen advocated that women should also be educated. Education as well as emancipation of women were at the forefront of his program. Max Muller, the great historian, said on his death, India has lost her most eminent son. Women step into writing. By the end of the 19th century, many women trained to be doctors and teachers.
Some of them started writing and publishing their views upon the place of women in society.
In Bengal, in the early 19th century, Rash Sundari Devi, a young married girl, learned to read in the secrecy of her kitchen. Later, she wrote her autobiography, Amar Jeeban. It was the first full-length autobiography published in Bengali language. By the end of 19th century, other women writers like Kailash Bhashani Devi in Bengal, Tarabai Shinde and Pandita Ramabai in Maharashtra wrote about how women were exploited at home, kept in ignorance and forced to do hard domestic labor and treated unjustly by their family members. Pandita Ramabai founded a widows' home at Pune, where the widows who were treated badly by their husbands' relatives could take shelter. Women's role in the freedom struggle. In the 20th century, women played an active role in the struggle for freedom. They participated in large numbers in the agitation against the partition of Bengal and in the non-cooperation and civil disobedience movements led by Gandhiji. Women's struggle for equality took a big step forward with the coming of independence. Full voting rights were given to women. The Indian Constitution has guaranteed complete equality to men and women, challenges faced by reformers. When the social reformers were aiming at reforming the society, at the same time they were opposed by the orthodox sections of the Indian society. The orthodox were not in favor of any type of reform, while the reformer proclaimed that scriptures did not sanction subjugation of women. The different opinions put forward by reformers not only led to debates but attacks on the reformers. Educated people from the Indian middle class came forward to reform the Indian society. The work done by them is still remembered today. The caste system. Indian manuscripts and religious books give us vivid account that Indian society was Varna-based since long time. The Indian society is based on the concepts of 4 Varnas, namely Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. The term caste refers to the strict division of the Indian society which segregated some sections from the mainstream. Caste system created inequalities and injustice. The people belonging to the lower castes were deprived of basic social and economic opportunities. Untouchability was another practice which was faced by the lower castes. This system was prevalent in Indian society and till date it is still practiced in some other forms. With the spread of modern education, many social and religious reformers came forward to remove the evil of casteism prevailing in the society. Impact of British rule. British rule also created conditions to challenge the caste system. As cities developed, there was work in the upcoming factories and jobs were available at road and building construction sites too. People from the villages and small towns, many of them from low castes, began moving to the cities, where there was demand for labor. As people of different castes lived and worked together in the cities, there was naturally mass contact among persons of different castes, and the rigid separation between the different caste groups which existed in the Indian villages declined. Joining the army was another option available to the people of lower castes.
For example, people belonging to the Mahar community, an untouchable community in Maharashtra, found jobs in the Mahar regiment.
Role of social reformers and social changes. The social reformers attacked the inhuman social evils like sati, child marriage, female infanticide, caste system, untouchability, etc., as they created inequality and injustice. The people belonging to the lower castes were denied basic social and economic opportunities. Reformers like Ram Mohan Roy, Swami Dayanand, and organizations like Ramakrishna Mission and the Prarthana Samaj of Maharashtra, and in fact all the reformers and reform movements of the 19th century fought against the practice of caste system. In particular, they condemned the inhumane practice of untouchability. They also realized that national unity and national progress could never be achieved as long as these downtrodden people were deprived of their right to live with dignity and honor. Jyotirao Phule. He was born in Pune, Maharashtra in 1827. He was greatly influenced by the ideas of Thomas Paine, a well-known English-American political activist. He was deeply hurt by observing the caste system and inequalities prevailing in the society. This incident took place when he went to attend the marriage of his Brahmin friend, where he was insulted in the name of caste. In 1873, he founded Satya Shodhak Samaj. The main objective of this Samaj was to improve the condition of oppressed people. He died in 1890. Throughout his career, he worked for the upliftment of the suppressed people. Gopal Hari Deshmukh. He was a well-known writer of Marathi. Through this, he gave the message of fighting the evil of caste system prevailing in the society. Swami Vivekanand. The original name of Swami Vivekanand was Narendra Nath Datta. He was the founder of Ramakrishna Mission. Ramakrishna Mission, organized by Swami Vivekanand, stressed on social services and social actions and was named after his guru, Ramakrishna Paramhans. Through this organization, he did his best to reconstruct the society in many ways. He firmly opposed the caste system and untouchability. He was the disciple of Ramakrishna Paramhansa. Sister Nivedita, the disciple of Swami Vivekanand, emphasized the unconditional social service. Being the champion of humanism, she fought against caste system and other social evils. Kandukuri Veera Salingam. Kandukuri Veera Salingam was born in 1847 in an orthodox Hindu family of Andhra Pradesh. He was deeply influenced by the ideas and teachings of Raja Ram Mohan Roy. In 1876, he started a magazine named Viveka Vardhini in Telugu, which was totally devoted to social reforms. With his efforts, Rajamundry Social Reform Association was also founded in 1878, which worked a lot to uplift the weaker sections of the society. He is known as the first man who brought Renaissance in Telangana. E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar. E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar was a well-known reformer and political leader of his times. He was popularly known as Periyar, which means the lofty one. He was born in 1897 in Naikar, caste of Tamil region.
He advocated social equality, the philosophy of which was based on social work and justice.
Nationalist leaders like Mahatma Gandhi, Raja Gopalachari, Vinoba Bhave were greatly influenced by his idea. He spent more than 50 years of his life in reforming the life of lower caste people. In 1930, he became an active member of Justice Party of Madras. Later, he took over this party and renamed it Dravidar Kazhagam, which means the Party of Tamils. He passed away in 1973, but his works done for the people of Tamil region are unforgettable. Sri Narayan Guru. Sri Narayan Guru was born in 1856 in Izawa family. He was great social reformer and saint of his times. At that time, the people of his caste, Izawa, were not allowed to enter the temples. He was determined to eradicate the social evils and disabilities imposed on lower castes. Under his guidance, an organization named SNDPY, Sri Narayan Dharma Paripalan Yogam, was started in 1903 to get entry into the temples. In the region of Kerala, Sri Narayan Guru declared that all the people should unite and come together under one sect, one caste, one Guru. He fought all his life to get temple entry rights for the untouchables. Mahatma Gandhi. The growth of the nationalist movement played a significant role in the weakening of the caste system. Common participation in public demonstrations, public meetings, and satyagraha struggles weakened caste consciousness. From the very beginning, Indian national movement opposed caste system and fought for the equal rights and freedom for all. All his life, Gandhiji kept the abolition of untouchability in the forefront of his public activities. He founded the All India Harijan Sangh in 1932 and started a vigorous campaign for the removal of untouchability, naming the untouchables as Harijans or God's own people. Gandhi declared, "If we believe that we are all children of one and the same God, how can there be untouchability amongst us as his children?" Similarly, while crusading for temple entry for the Harijans, he argued, "It is the one spiritual act that would assure the untouchables that they are not outcasts before God." Bhim Rao Ambedkar. He was a great leader who was born in 1891 in Mao village of present Madhya Pradesh. He himself belonged to a lower caste, Mahar caste. So, he had a first-hand experience in dealing with the problems of oppressed people. In 1927, he started a temple entry movement to question why lower castes were not allowed to enter the temple. In 1930s, he took part actively in national politics and demanded separate electorates for untouchables. He was also the prominent member of drafting committee of the Indian Constitution and became the first law minister of Free India, Indian Constitution and caste system. The Constitution laid down certain provisions to abolish untouchability. Article 15. Article 15 of Indian Constitution states that no Indian citizen shall be discriminated against on the basis of caste, creed, sex or religion. Article 17. Article 17 of Indian Constitution declares that the practice of untouchability in any form is a punishable offence. The inhumane practice of untouchability has been totally abolished by the Indian Constitution. The spread of education has also helped the people to change their approach towards casteism, especially untouchability. The role of media and social organizations in fighting against this social evil cannot be ignored. Efforts are still being made to get rid of this evil, which is still practiced in remote areas.